Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because, well, we are about to go on a really fascinating journey into the very blueprint of life. Have you ever caught yourself wondering exactly how physical traits get passed down from parents to kids? Like, why do some traits seem to skip an entire generation, while others, like that incredibly distinct family nose, just seem to show up in literally almost every family member? Today, we are unlocking the secrets of heredity, and we're going to learn how to actually predict the future, genetically speaking, of course, using this incredibly powerful, really cool tool called the Punnett square. Let's get into it.
So, here's our game plan for today. We'll start by decoding your family traits, break down genotype versus phenotype, look at dominant and recessive genes, and then actually set up some Punnett squares to predict offspring ratios and see how this all plays out in the real world.
But before we dive into the heavy science, take just a second and think about your own family tree. Do you have your mother's eyes, maybe your father's hair type, or, I don't know, maybe your grandparents' nose shape? For this explainer, I want you to kind of think of yourself as a trait detective. You see, the similarities and the differences you share with your family members, they aren't just random chance, not at all. They're actually the result of very specific genetic patterns that we can completely map out.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, decoding your family traits. Whenever we talk about heredity, which, by the way, is just the passing of traits from parents to offspring, we usually start with what we can actually see, right? Think about common, everyday, observable traits. We're talking about things like whether you have dimples when you smile, if your hair is curly or straight, whether you have that quirky ability to roll your tongue into a tube, or even if your earlobes are attached or detached. These traits are the perfect examples to help us solve the whole mystery of why family members look so similar but almost never exactly identical. Every single one of these physical characteristics is dictated by microscopic instructions that were handed down directly to you.
Moving right along to Section 2, genotype versus phenotype. Okay, so to solve these genetic mysteries, we really need to understand the basic units of heredity, which are called genes. And to do that, there's a really crucial contrast between two foundational concepts that you absolutely have to know. First up is the genotype. This is the hidden genetic makeup of an organism. It's the behind-the-scenes code. We represent this unseen code using letters, like two capital T's, a capital T and a lowercase t, or two lowercase t's. You can't just look at someone and instantly see their genotype. Now on the flip side, we have the phenotype. This is the observable physical result of that hidden code. It's the actual curly hair you see or the visible dimples. So the rule of thumb here, the genotype dictates the phenotype.
Section 3, dominant and recessive genes. Now, as it turns out, not all genes are created equal. Some of them actually like to boss the others around. A dominant trait is kind of like the loudest sibling in a crowded room. It is going to be expressed in the phenotype whenever it's present in the genotype, period. It literally only takes one dominant gene to show the trait, and we always represent dominant traits with a capital letter, like a big T. A recessive trait, on the other hand, is much shyer. It's the quiet sibling. It only gets expressed when the dominant trait is completely absent. Because they're so easily masked by those loud dominant genes, we represent recessive traits with a lowercase letter, like a small t. Let's just solidify two final super important vocabulary words before we actually build our predictive tool. An organism's genotype consists of two alleles, one inherited from each parent. Now, if an individual inherits two identical alleles, say two capital T's or two lowercase t's, we call that homozygous. Just remember, homo means same. But if they inherit one dominant allele and one recessive allele, so a capital T and a lowercase t, we call that heterozygous, because hetero means different. Make sense? Awesome. Which brings us to Section 4, setting up Punnett squares.
Okay, we are going to take all that vocabulary and put it to work right now. The Punnett square is the ultimate mathematical tool used by geneticists to predict offspring traits. And the best part is, you don't even have to wait for the offspring to be born. It is honestly brilliant in its simplicity. Here's how you do it. First, you just draw a simple 2x2 grid. Then you take one parent's genotype, let's say they're heterozygous, meaning they have a capital T and a lowercase t, and you place those alleles across the top. Third, you take the other parent's alleles, let's say they're also heterozygous, big T, little t, and place them down the left side. Finally, the fun part. You just combine the letters that intersect in those four inner boxes. That's it. That predicts the potential genotypes of the next generation.
Let's actually walk through this specific cross together. This is called a monohybrid cross, by the way.
Okay, so in the top left box, the capital T from the top and the capital T from the left side combine, making a homozygous dominant TT. Moving over to the top right, a lowercase t from the top meets a capital T from the left, giving us a heterozygous TT. And just a quick side note, we always write the capital letter first, always. Now, down in the bottom left, we get another heterozygous TT. And finally, in that bottom right box, the lowercase t from the top meets the lowercase t from the left, giving us our lone homozygous recessive TT.
Section 5, Predicting Offspring Ratios. Let's talk probability.
So what do these four little boxes actually mean in terms of probability for the next generation? Well, let's look at the genetic ratio first. Out of our four boxes, one box gave us a homozygous dominant TT genotype. Two boxes gave us heterozygous TT genotypes, and one box gave us a homozygous recessive TT genotype. This gives us a classic 1:2 to 1 genotypic ratio. Think about it in terms of probability. For every child these parents might have, there's a 25% chance of being TT, a 50% chance of being TT, and a 25% chance of being TT. This right here is the hidden code ratio. But what are these offspring actually going to look like? Remember how that loud dominant trait completely masks the quiet recessive trait? Because of that, both the 1 TT offspring and the 2 TT offspring are going to physically show the exact same dominant trait. The dominant capital T bosses around the lowercase t. Only that single TT offspring will show the recessive trait. So, practically speaking, our hidden 1:2 to 1 genotypic ratio translates into a 3:1 phenotypic ratio. That means there's a whopping 75% chance the offspring will show the dominant phenotype, and only a 25% chance they'll show the recessive one.
Finally, Section 6, Genetics in the Real World.
So, you might be thinking, okay, why does this all matter? Well, this isn't just dry classroom theory. Understanding inheritance patterns has massive real-world applications. For example, farmers use these exact concepts all the time to predict offspring traits. They'll purposefully cross specific plants just to grow tomatoes that are both super sweet and really large. Dog breeders rely heavily on genetics to determine if a litter of puppies is going to have dominant brown fur or recessive white fur. And scientists, they don't just stop at one trait. It gets even crazier when they solve complex dihybrid crosses, which means tracking two traits at once, like color and shape, simultaneously. And that results in this incredible 9:3 to 3:1 ratio. Seriously, this knowledge is the absolute bedrock of modern agriculture and animal husbandry. Which brings us to the end of our explainer today. But before we go, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. How could understanding your family's own unique genetic patterns help you make informed decisions about your future health and your life? Whether it's tracing a simple, fun physical trait or really understanding your predisposition to certain health conditions, the Punnett Square is literally a window into your past and a map for your future. So, take a look at your family tree this week with some fresh eyes and see what genetic mysteries you can solve for yourself. Thank you so much for joining me to explore the secrets of heredity. Stay curious, everyone.